When there are drought conditions, you might need to change your horse's management routine just a little bit. During a drought, grass starts to panic a little bit and says to itself, I need to conserve all of my sugars and starches so that when it does start to rain again, I can grow. And what that means is that horses that are particularly sensitive to higher sugar levels, those at risk of laminitis and colic, might need to take heed when going out on crispy pasture. Nutritionally speaking, during a drought, a pasture is going to decrease in the amount of fiber, but also increase in the nitrates that are in the grass. Now, for most horses, an increase in the nitrates is not going to be a problem. It's more likely to affect a ruminant. During a drought, it's more likely that the pasture can get overgrazed, thus creating bald spots, and it's more likely then that a horse's hooves and grazing can damage the root structure. A horse is also more likely to eat a lot of that dirt and debris and end up with sand in their bellies. You're also faced with a situation in which weeds can start to take over and suffocate the grass that is existing. So what do you do about this? Let's look at the nutrition part of drought pasture first. If your horse is at high risk of laminitis or colic, or if your horses are likely to eat down the pasture to near nothing, consider using grazing muzzles during their turnout. Also supplement with hay, like a lot of hay. Long stem forage is great. You can use slow feeders to mimic that natural grazing process. This keeps your horse chewing and makes up for the decreased fiber value of the dried up crispy pasture. You might also need to add a vitamin mineral supplement to make up for what they are missing out by having that pasture not as healthy as it normally is. Also, mow the pastures, and this is to get rid of the weeds and keep the weeds down. And you want to find a deck setting where you're lobbing off the weeds, but you're not lobbing off so much of the pasture grass. If you think your horse is at risk of ingesting a lot of sand while on sparse pasture, block off those areas, switch to dry lots and use slow feeders. And you can also do that fecal float test where you put some of their manure into a bag and see if any sand precipitates out. Now, this test is great to tell you if sand went in one end and out the other, but it's an incomplete picture because if you see that sand comes out, that means that sand went in and sand went out. Is there any left in your horse? Did all of it come out? Or is there still a big pile of sandbox in there? Now, if the test is negative and there's no sand in your fecal float bag, then that means some went in and didn't come out, or none went in and none came out. So using that test is part of the picture, and it might be a good place to start. And when the rains do come, treat this as you would a fresh spring pasture. That grass is going to say, woohoo, time to grow. And sometimes it can really spring up quite quickly. This is a diet change for your horse. You need to take it slow and let your horse get acclimated to that new healthy pasture again. Use grazing muzzles, alternate turnout times between the pasture grass and dry lots, and make sure it's a smooth transition for your horse.